Hi everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my BookTube channel. And I'm a little late this week in posting videos. I did post one for my birthday as well to share the haul that I got, my little mini small haul. But in addition to that, I did partially participate in a tag, and that is Alcott April, and I did this in support of my friend Deea from Novel Idea. I wasn't tagged for this, but I wanted to show support. I'm a little late to the party. I'm sorry, because it was Alcott April, not May. One of the prompts was to read a short story, I believe. And I did not read short stories. I would have loved to, but my book did not arrive in time. But what I did end up doing was I read some of Louisa May Alcott's hospital sketches. I'm kind of a sucker for biographies of women, historical biographies. If you watch my channel, you know that well by now, right? But I love to hear about the history of women in medicine in particular. I don't know why, but that just fascinates me. More on that in another vlog to come in the near future. But in any event, I read some of her hospital sketches. Now, these are sketches that Louisa May Alcott wrote during the Civil War. Before Louisa May Alcott wrote Little Women, she did work as a nurse at a Union soldiers' hospital in Washington, D.C. During the Civil War. And the sketches are actually semi-fictionalized accounts that were based on letters that Louisa May Alcott had sent home to her family during her time as a nurse. And she does make some changes when she fictionalizes them for the book Hospital Sketches. She changes the main character's name to Tribulation Periwinkle, which is a very strange name, but I think meant to be somewhat mirthful and humorous and upbeat in a very bleak time in our history. I did read some of the sketches. I found they were edited to sound sort of charming and literary, and I don't think they would have been publishable at the time unless they were like that. I think that's what her publisher wanted. Actually, what I found far more interesting than hospital sketches was what I read for another prompt in the Alcott April tag, and that was to read a nonfiction book about Louisa May Alcott, or the time period in which she lived. So I love biographies that focus on one aspect of a person's life or one period of time in their life, and that's exactly what this next book does. It was really good. It's a younger person's biography, but you know I love those. And this is called Louisa on the Front Lines by Samantha Seiple. And boy, was this a good book. I learned so much. Now, it does focus specifically on Louisa's time working as a nurse at a Union Army hospital, but in taking that focus and in zooming in to one period of her life, by focusing in on the little, you actually learn about the big, the large picture. And oh my gosh, you learn about her youth, you learn about abolitionism, women's suffrage, the Civil War, Mary and Abraham Lincoln, the White House, and how the furniture at the White House was sort of run down at the time and Mary Lincoln hadn't foofed it up yet. You learn about medicine at the time, what they were able to do and what hadn't been invented yet. It's just fascinating. And it also tells the story of one of her patients in particular named John, who would later become a character featured in Little Women. He embodied many of the traits that her own father, Bronson Alcott, did not. And I'm not a huge fan of Bronson Alcott, I'll tell you. That's another story for another day. But anyway, but Louisa May Alcott really admired John's character, and so she sort of immortalized him in Little Women. Louisa May Alcott became quite ill while she was working at this hospital and needed to go home to convalesce. And this talks about that as well. And then after she left the hospital and was back in her at-home life, it talks about traveling and talks about people that she met and the eventual publication of Little Women. It also talks about her neighbors. It talks about Henry David Thoreau, it talks about Emerson, and it talks about suffragism and abolitionism. So very interesting read. I highly recommend if you want to learn about a particular period of history or social history, find a biography that focuses on one person during one time of their life, and you will learn so much if it's well written, as this one is. So I loved that. And then another of the prompts was to read a work written by one of the Alcott's neighbors. Now, I have read Walden by Henry David Thoreau. Walden, of course, is gorgeous. It contains some of the most gorgeous prose, some of the grandest reflections of transcendentalism in nature that one could hope for. Not a huge fan of Thoreau the man, just as I'm not of Louisa May Alcott's father. I'm sure you've probably heard of what's called the laundry sneer, which is the criticism of Thoreau that, it kind of taints his work of living off the land independently at Walden when you find out that although he was supposedly in the wilderness, his mother did do loads of his laundry and his sister would deliver them to him along with pies and baked goods that he could live off of. And he did go to his friends' houses for dinner during the time that he was living there. Not to mention there were undocumented escaped slaves living around him in the woods, and we need their stories, not just the sort of privilege of a white man's ability to commune with nature when he wants to. And I know I'm going to get so much flack for saying all of this. I know, we love Thoreau. Don't worry, I love him too, but I do find him problematic. In any event, I did not really focus on Thoreau, but what I did do was pick up a book I have not picked up in ages, and it's actually one of my older books in my collection, and this is the essay Friendship by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this is my copy here. It was leather. It's very, very worn to a kind of crumbling suede at this point. But it's a beautiful little edition. The spine is disintegrating, so I'll just very carefully show it to you here. It was published by Drexel Biddle in Philadelphia. And it's very arts and crafts looking, actually. And there's in the front piece is Ralph Waldo Emerson, and here's the title page. And it's all done in black, white, and red. And then throughout, you get this. So this is what the manuscript looks like. And I'm sure it was like little limited edition pamphlets, and I believe they published some of these at Christmas time to give as gifts. It was probably published sometime either in the late 1800s or the early 1900s. So it wasn't published, it's not like a first edition or anything, and I enjoyed rereading this, but I was just so intently focused on nursing in the Civil War that when I came to Emerson's essay, which I used to love when I was in high school, I used to quote this all the time. I thought Emerson was brilliant and good looking, I thought. But at this point, it was good. It was good. It's very sort of lofty observations about friendship, and I know I'm doing it a disservice by generalizing so much, but I read this, so that was good. And then I was so motivated by the story of Louisa May Alcott working as a nurse that I also did a rewatch of one of my favorite shows from PBS. Unfortunately, it was canceled after a couple seasons, as all the good ones seem to be. I think one of these days soon I'm going to have to do a vlog on my favorite costume dramas and period history dramas. But Mercy Street would definitely be among those, and that is about the doctors and nurses who worked at Mansion House Hospital in Alexandria, Virginia. It was a hotel that was turned into a wartime hospital. The acting in Mercy Street is wonderful. You learn a lot about the Civil War. They did take liberties with the characters' storylines, but they are based on real people. And Ridley Scott, who was the producer of Mercy Street, did confess that he added in a little bit of Louisa May Alcott into his Nurse Mary character on the show. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. The ends aren't all tied up nicely. It's 2 seasons, and it's not all tied up nicely or concluded, and you won't have a sense of closure because at that point they didn't know that the series wasn't going to be renewed. But I highly recommend watching it. And then I had also, out of the library, taken this book, which is Heroines of Mercy Street, The Real Nurses of the Civil War, and this is by Pamela D. Toler, and it's the companion to Mercy Street on PBS with a foreword by Ridley Scott. So this copy is from the library, but I'm enjoying it so much that I have ordered my own copy. And so this talks about the characters on the show and who their real-life counterparts were. So there's Dorothea Dix, Mary Finney, and Anne Redding. Nurses on the Union side, nurses on the Confederate side, doctors, runaway escaped slaves and contraband. What if you were a black person who wanted to study medicine at that time? Outbreaks of typhoid and dysentery, malaria. You know, the majority of patients that came into the hospitals during the Civil War did not die of their wounds from the battlefield. Most of them died from disease and lack of sanitation. So it's a fascinating series from that perspective. And the sort of ghost of Louisa May Alcott does make itself known in this series. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this. I just wanted to make sure I sort of squeaked under the deadline. Well, I didn't squeak under the deadline. I missed the deadline. It's May, but I did my best. I did take time off for my birthday, but I did want to, just let everyone know I did participate in Alcott April, and I did several of the prompts. So there's that. And I hope you're doing real well. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.